Welcome to the 31st annual Intertribal Powwow at the Fort Omaha campus. I'm President Randy Schmazel from Metropolitan Community College. Over the next week, there are going to be a number of videos that you can watch, Zoom sessions that you can come to and join in on. The theme for this year's powwow is investing in our future. Metro has hosted a powwow since 1992. So over 30 years, we've been in existence with the Intertribal Powwow. That means many, many Saturdays and many families have spent time together during this important event. And although we're not going to be together, we're still going to be here talking and discussing the important environment that's created through having Intertribal Powwow. I want to thank the powwow staff, the powwow committee, and community members, and the partnerships that we have in helping make this a reality. So thank you and appreciate it and enjoy.
And thank you to Metropolitan Community College President, Mr. Randy Schmazel, for taking the time to help us get off to a great start for the 31st annual Fort Omaha virtual Intertribal Powwow. My name is Barbara Velasquez. It has been my pleasure to work with the powwow annually since its inception in 1992 to honor a partnership at that time with Nebraska Indian Community College, as well as the United States quincentennial anniversary. Many gracious community members sat around the table with us to design the first celebration. And while several are no longer with us, we continue this powwow with sincere thanks and memories of their many contributions. This year's powwow, sidelined from the in-person Saturday event at the Fort Omaha campus due to rising COVID cases in our community, will consist of 8 virtual programs Monday through Friday, September 19th through the 23rd. Visit mccneb.edu/powwow sketch to see the full list. I will put that link in the chat. We thank Isabella Aguirre Whitedress, Olala Su Lakota, for representing this powwow as the reigning princess. You will see Isabella in programming on Friday's Princess Contest that will begin at 1 p.m. CDT. The 2022 powwow theme is investing in our future. Our goal for this year's virtual programming is to enhance the lives of those who watch this week, but also serve as powerful learning tools and entertainment far into the future as on-demand viewing opportunities. Your microphones and chat with other audience members are turned off, but you may always contact the hosts. Send your questions at any time to moderator Barbara Velasquez. Today's opening program will allow us to hear about powwows and traditional practices from our head man and women dancers. Rebecca Tamayo and Galen Drapo will present, and then Rebecca will join us for Q&A at the end of the program. Send your questions at any time to moderator Barbara Velasquez. Please watch the chat for a link to the online evaluation of today's program. Attending today's program and completing the evaluation with your contact information will enter you into a free drawing for a beautiful star quilt. Let's watch Teresa Foley's video to see the star quilt and her message, and then Rebecca Tamayo's presentation will follow. I'll see you after the video's in.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex Lever and I'm with MCC.
And I'm Teresa Foley and I'm also with MCC.
And we are here to invite you to complete the evaluation after the program is finished for your opportunity to win this beautiful star quilt made by Carrie Reed.
Thank you and good luck.
Metakiapi kohomini wiai machiape naha yuhan chante washea na pe chuzape. Titantawan si changula kotale menaha ki tioshpaita sampio yanke. My name is Rebecca Tamayo. I'm a member of the Sicangu Lakota. My family comes from a small community called Milks Camp. I currently have the honor to serve as the Chief Quality Officer of the Ponca Tribe of Nebraska. I am a mother of 3. I also have a separate small business that serves and focuses on elderly and disabled individuals in the Omaha metro area. In addition, I serve on the Bluebird Cultural Initiative Board that focuses on cultural restoration here in the metro area. I have the honor to serve as the head lady dancer for this year's 31st annual for Omaha Intertribal Powwow. I'm really excited for this opportunity. I've been in attendance since I want to say maybe 25 years, maybe more. So quite some time. My family's been really involved with the powwow, and we look forward to it every year. What this powwow means to the community, well, having been present for several years, I really think it's a great time for the community to come together, a time for healing, a time for celebration, a time for community, a time for people to be able to help carry out doings for their family, anything that, or acknowledge accomplishments for the past year, an opportunity for unity and acceptance of all, and really recognition of our elders and also our future generations. It really gives us the opportunity to be able to carry out our teachings without fear or any repercussions of any judgment. It's really in a good way, all done in a good way. So I started dancing at a young age while attending our traditional at-home Wachipi and Milks Camp. I had the privilege to be able and the honor to be brought up by my grandparents as well as my father, and of course along the side of my twin sister, Nicole. And so together we grew up in the circle and we learned to dance in those different styles. But really I want to share my appreciation for my grandmother for all that she's done in preparing me for this life, but also encouraging us to learn our traditional ways. I primarily dance women's traditional. However, I also dance women's jingle. And from time to time I can dance women's fancy, not so much anymore, but but I love the opportunity to dance women's traditional style. It's very graceful. I think to me, I feel really good in being able to dance in a style that respects Mother Earth, but also our ancestors and our teachings. And I think a lot about, while I'm dancing, I think about my grandmother and people before us, and also just give thanks while I'm dancing. And it's just a really good feeling for me personally to be able to carry out that dance style, but also while honoring my family and those who have come before us. The importance for me to be able to continue our cultural ways is that for quite some time before us, there were many of our ancestors who had to go underground or who were forbidden to be able to practice our cultural ways. And so I really think it's important for us, for our own identity, to be as Native people, to be able to practice and carry out our traditions, and also share those teachings with our future generations so that is not lost, so that we continue to revitalize our culture. And so I think it's extremely important. It's our identity, and so being able to carry out and serve in this capacity is just a form of that. But I encourage our future generations to learn from our elders, ask questions, keep an open mind, and also I encourage others that are that don't necessarily identify as Native, but to also learn our way, learn about why we do things, because I think a lot of that education and those lessons and that is not really taught in the traditional school system of the Native people of Turtle Island. And so I really want to encourage people to learn more about our Native community, so that there's just a better understanding. I'd also like to thank the Metro Community College Powwow Committee for selecting me for this year's Head Lady Dancer. role. I also want to thank my father and my family for being so encouraging, and for our elders that have shared so much with me throughout my life. And I want to say a big thank you to all of our Native community members for their resilience and perseverance in continuing our traditional ways.
My name is Galen Drappel. Tatanka Itancha is my Dakota name, which means buffalo leader. I come from Bede Ihunke, Lake Andes, or end of the lake. Ihunktua Makoche, the Yankton Sioux Reservation. And I'm a traditional dancer, and I've been dancing for 50 years, basically my entire life. And I'm also a singer, and I'm also a whistle carrier for my tribe and for the Powwow Circle. And I really enjoy my life that I have with within that Powwow Circle, and meeting people and seeing old friends and relatives. And so I'm really excited to be getting back out into that circle after a few years of this COVID pandemic. The significance of a powwow is to go and celebrate with the host, and to be happy, and to have good health, and to meet, like I said earlier, new friends, to see old friends, and to just be able to feel alive within the powwow circle through the music and through dancing, and the energy that comes from Mother Earth, and the energy that comes from the people as a whole, whether they're dancing or onlooking or singing, the announcing. They just make the environment real happy, and they make the environment feel real good, and you just could feel the energy of the good health that is around. Well, to be the head man dancer and to be asked is a great honor. How I understand the role of a head man dancer, or of a head dancer, is that you have to participate in every intertribal honoring. You dance with the honorees, and you share your understanding, your culture, your beliefs in that circle with the individuals that are in the circle with you, and those that you are dancing with, the honorees. You support them and show them the gratefulness that you are having with inside of yourself, to share with them, so to make them feel good and to make them feel happy. And so to be able to be that head dancer is a great honor, and to be able to just be in the circle with many people, and be happy and feel again the energy that comes from everybody that's at the powwow. I had a experience just recently, earlier this spring, of being head man dancer at the Vermilion USD Wachipi, and I was truly honored to be in that place at that time, and to be able to dance and experience that circle again, because it's been a really long time since this pandemic had hit, that I've traveled around to different powwows. And so again, earlier this spring, I was able to enter that circle in Vermilion, South Dakota for the annual USD Wachipi. And, I've seen a lot of old friends and people that I haven't seen in a long time. And, it just made me feel real good. I was happy. Of course, at that time, I was a little bit out of dancer shape. When you don't dance, and then you get back out there, you're using muscles that you don't normally use every day. You could go out and run 10 miles a day, but when you get in that dancing circle, you're going to be using other muscles than running muscles. And so, it was awesome to get out there, but I was also kind of sore, from not dancing so long. But just to be out there and happy again. And, when I'm out there, I just love to smile, and I love to visit everyone. And I just have such a wonderful time. So being in that role earlier this spring was really awesome. And I was truly honored to be asked to be the head man dancer there, as well as at the Omaha powwow. The difference between a contest powwow and a traditional powwow, is at a contest powwow, you're competing. You don't get to intertribal dance as much. You get right into a contest. And, they contest all the way from the junior categories, which is usually 6 to 12. Teen categories is 13 to 17. And then adult categories is 18 on up. And most of your powwows today that are contests will even split the adult categories. So you'll have junior adult and senior adult and golden age. And usually those ages run from like 18 to 34, and then 35 to like 55, and then or 54. And then golden age is it varies at different powwows. It could be 55 on up, or it could be 60 on up. And again, you're not out there enjoying music and being a part of honorings that take place. The contest is just that. It's a straight up contest powwow. And even the drums, they have contests, singing contests. And it's kind of strict a little bit, because you have to sit at the drum constantly. You have to keep your drum area clean. And and when they come and judge you, they judge you on some of them things. And so, and they watch the drums also to make sure that they're staying at home with their drum. Versus the traditional powwow. The traditional powwow, you have a lot of intertribals, and you get to dance around with some of your friends and laugh and just really have a good time. And they'll exhibition each category. There's different categories within all the age groups, and usually those categories consist of traditional for both men and women, fancy for both men and women, and then the men have a grass dance style, and the women have a jingle dress style. And then also the men also have another style, which is a chicken dance. And a lot of times they have those categories at contest powwow. And so you know, you get to hold on to some of the traditional aspects of the celebration at a traditional powwow. Again, you know, the intertribals, the visiting. You also get to have honorings. You know, maybe somebody is bringing in their child for the very first time into the powwow circle. So, you know, they'll have an honor song for them. And then sometimes they have a small giveaway to recognize the individuals that are coming into the powwow circle for the very first time. And so you get to enjoy that more so at a traditional powwow, you know, and things are relaxed there versus at a contest powwow. You know, you got to be on standby all the time, you know, be ready to dance when they call your category, and just move forward like that. And you know, so that's the kind of the difference between the two. And you know, I enjoy the traditional powwow, but I also enjoy, you know, the contest powwow also. You know, both of them have their merits, and um, and it's just for me, it's just truly awesome to attend the powwow in general. Well, my awards at the contest powwow, you know, is actually a reward. You know, I don't go to the doings expecting to win, you know, and when I do participate in the contest powwow and I do place, you know, I always am truly grateful, you know, because the people look and look at my style of dance and look at my outfit and you know, look at my footwork and appreciate, and you know, then they vote for you. You know, they write your number down. You have to register, and you know, they when we're done competing, they look at all of us and they have us line up, and then they judge us. You know, and usually they judge 1 to 5 places. You know, most of your contest powwows have 5 places: first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. You know, and the prize money will vary. You know, a lot of times prize money is 1,000, 8, 6, 4, and 2. You know, for the 5 places. And you know, I've placed first at different celebrations. I placed second, I placed third, I placed fourth, I placed fifth. And you know, I was truly thankful and honored when I would participate and, you know, and win, you know. And then there's times that you don't win, and you know, we as dancers, you know, shouldn't feel bad. You know, actually we should feel happy that we get to be out there and dance and you know, allow our energy to move outward towards the people and towards throughout the universe, because our energy is helping people that are unable to dance, people that are not feeling so well to feel better. Maybe our dancing, the powwow music, you know, helps everybody to help themselves with good health. And so, you know, to be able to participate in that powwow, that contest powwow, and to place is an honor. And you know, when you don't place, you know, don't feel bad. Just move forward and you know, keep going and be happy that you're able to dance and share your style and your footwork, your regalia with the people, and be happy. Well, I started dancing and was influenced, through the powwow circle. I can remember back to about being 2 years old, and my parents took me to a powwow. We used to live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they took me to a powwow out in Shakopee, and we went out there, and I remember one of my grandpas. His name is Mark Merrick. He came up from Macy area in Nebraska up to Minneapolis, and he was a fancy dancer. And we went to the powwow to go see him and visit him, and I guess at that time I probably met him, and you know I the powwow just drew me out into the middle, and I went out there and I just danced. I remember dancing out there with no outfit, and just dancing out in that circle. I guess it was all day. And I watched the dancers, and um, I just really enjoyed myself. I could remember that feeling, of just being out there dancing and standing next to my grandpa Mark Merrick, and he's no longer with us, but I remember that, and after that powwow was over, we left and we went home, and my mom and my dad sat down, and they beaded me a outfit. My parents were artists in beadwork and quill work and different things like that, and my dad was an artist in painting and drawing, and so, but they sat down and they beaded me an outfit. I remember that first outfit. I believe it was blue. It was blue beadwork, and they made me a harness and a belt with side drops and some moccasins, and they made me a breech cloth, and my dad got me, I believe, a wapesha and a roach, a head roach, and my dad made my bustles, and then I think maybe within a week or two, they had my outfit done, and we went to our next powwow, and I started fancy dancing, in the powwow circuit, in the powwow, on the powwow trail. And so, at that time too, my father was in art school, and he was going to school with some singers, and way back when, those singers were called the Meskwaki Bear Singers, and later on they changed their name to Red Earth Singers, and they were a world-renowned championship singing group. And there was Adrian Wayne, who was the lead singer, Wayne Pushitaniqua, and his brother Adrian, and then there was Ed Bearhart and a few other singers, Vince Bile, and at that time, Wayne, he told my parents, he said that he was going to steal me and teach me how to sing. And so, all of those people that I have met, or that I have mentioned, my parents, my grandpa Mark, and the Meskwaki Bear Singers, later known as the Red Earth Singers, they all influenced me in this powwow circle, and just growing up in it, learning as much as possible, and always listening. My father taught me how to listen, and so I do a lot of listening. And at that time, it helped me to understand the different styles of dance, where the origins, And so, you know, it led me to this point where you have asked me to be the head man dancer, you know, at the Omaha Metropolitan Community College celebration. And I'm truly thankful and honored, you know, that the influences that were in my life have helped me to get to where I'm at today with a little bit of understanding, a little bit of knowledge, and, you know, to be able to share what I've learned throughout my 52, going on 52 years of life here on Mother Earth. What I do to get ready for the position of a head dancer, you know, I sit down with my family and I discuss it with them first because, you know, they're the ones that are going to help me with this honor, you know, and so I got to make sure that I'm ready to participate in every dance, every intertribal, every honoring, you know, and be there in that specific role, you know. And when they honor the powwow committee, you know, I make sure that I'm there and giving thanks and to the powwow committee for the honor of asking me to be in that role. And at the same time, too, you know, you want to give back. What I was taught and what I learned is that you give back. So usually, when I'm in that role of a head dancer too, I'll start saving a little bit of money or raising some money, and then we'll have a small little contest where I give back also to a specific category, you know. And usually it's a traditional, because that's who I am. I'm a traditional dancer, and so, you know, usually I'll give back to the traditional dancers, and you know, have a small little contest and give away some blankets to the winners and some prize money, you know. And so these are kind of the things that I do. And again, you know, I have to run it past my family because they're the ones that again help me with that process of being a head man dancer. My style of dance that I do at this time is traditional, and you know, they say that our style of dance was given to us by the Umaha people. So it's a Umaha dance, and at the same time, also, you know, we utilize this style of dance also way back when, you know. And they say that we also got this style from the prairie chicken, you know, the prairie chicken and how they dance. And so, you know, it's not a whole lot of footwork or anything, but if you pay attention to the dancers long ago, your veterans were traditional dancers, and if they went to war, they would come back and they would share their story through dance. And so, you know, in today's times, there's a lot of traditional dancers that aren't veterans, and you know, it's just because they enjoy that style of dance. And so, you know, they create a story for themselves. And you know, again, there's not a lot of fancy footwork. It's just straight forward 2 steps per foot. Once in a while you'll do 1 step, and you know, you get down low, and you know, you pay attention to the ground because you're telling a story. You're looking for footprints, you know, and you're kind of like sneaking up, going into battle, and so, you pay attention to everything and you're tracking the people around and trying to find, maybe somebody got stolen. So you're dancing and you're moving like that and you're looking around on the earth and trying to find traces of your comrades or even the enemy, because you're going into battle. And then when I first started dancing, I started out as a fancy dancer. And so, a fancy dancer has a double bustle. They wear one at the base of their neck, and then they wear one around their waist. And a traditional dancer just wears a single bustle around their waist, and a fancy dancer will wear Angora hair from their knee, down to their ankle area. And traditional dancers will just wear Angora hair from their ankle down. And that Angora hair acts as a way to hide your hide your footsteps, and also on the bustles long ago, they used to wear trailers. Traditional dancers still wear a trailer, and fancy dancers used to also, but they don't so much anymore. But that trailer too was long enough where it would drag on the ground so that it would cover up any trace of you being in that area. And with the fancy dancer, they have a rocker where your feathers go back and forth like this. And traditional dancers, they have a headpiece where the feathers spin. And then even inside of that, as a fancy dancer, in today's times, things have changed, but long ago when I was fancy dancing, you knew the difference between a Southern fancy dancer and a Northern fancy dancer, where the Southern fancy dancers, they had the rocker where the feathers go back and forth like this on top of their head. And then Northern fancy dancers wore the feathers that just spin, they don't rock. They were spinning feathers. And so you could tell the difference in that. And even in beadwork, you could tell where dancers come from in general. Long ago, the different families had a family emblem or a family color that distinguished which area they came from. Their design distinguished what tribe they belonged to. And even the colors distinguished which family they belonged to. And so, but today's times, those things aren't so much prevalent. Everybody makes beautiful beadwork, and so it's kind of difficult to understand where they come from in today's times. But if you know them, then maybe they came from my reservation or different reservations just by knowing their names and stuff. But again, long ago, you could distinguish families, dancers by their beadwork. And so, this is the different understandings of the powwow circle that they're kind of going away, but I'm happy that I've learned these things to share. And maybe someday we'll get back to the family colors and the family emblems and the family designs and the territorial colors and designs, within the different tribes. Some of my outfit that I've created, I make my own bustle. make my own breastplate. I have a choker that I've had since I was a little boy, and I redo it, and I just keep making it, and I wear it, even to this day. I'll remake it so that it don't fall apart, and the people look at it, and one of my old friends said, "Hey, didn't you used to wear that when you was little, a fancy dancer?" I was like, "Yes." And it kind of makes me feel good that some of the relatives recognize some of the stuff that I have, that I've just held on to, and keep. I keep it so that we can still use it, still have it, so that it stays within my family. Maybe one of these days I'll pass it on to one of my grandkids or something like that. But right now I'm still able to dance, and my beadwork that I do. Sometimes my family makes it, for me, my sister or my wife or my children, and I'm currently having a new outfit, a new beadwork being done, and that's being done by one of my brothers. His name is Steve Yellow Earring, and we're doing this to help him. He's a well-known traditional dancer also, and he does this for a living. Makes beadwork. So trying to assist him, and I respect him, and appreciate him for taking the time to help me with new beadwork. And so it just depends on how you want things to be. And so again, my family will help with my beadwork, or the other things. I make the breastplates, and the chokers, and the bustle, and the spinners on my head roach, and so this is how I've come to put together my outfit.
I hope you're not wearing out. This has been really wonderful. Looking at my questions, I don't. So at the Fort Omaha Intertribal Powwow, we often have people who've never been to a powwow before, or maybe it's, they're early on in their experience with powwows. What recommendations do you have for them to have the most meaningful experience at a powwow? What should they expect to see and experience? Is there ever a time when they can go into the arena at this traditional powwow?
When you travel around to different powwows, and for this powwow in particular, the Fort Omaha traditional powwow, Wachipi, you'll get a lot of peoples that are of different dang it. You'll get different people from different areas, different races, and so when you travel to a powwow, you get to see and hopefully learn a little bit about the culture of Native people, and again, there's different styles of dance, different styles of expression from different peoples. Again, you have the traditional dance of both the men and women. You have the fancy dance. Fancy dancers, for the men, they wear a double bustle with a head roach, and women, fancy dancers, they wear a shawl around their shoulders, and these two styles of dance are our newest styles. They've been around probably for 80, maybe 100 years, whereas the traditional dance has been with us for a few centuries, now. And then you have the grass dance and the jingle dress. The grass dance was a ceremonial dance long ago that has, moved into an area in which, in today's times, isn't so much practiced as a ceremony anymore. But when we do go to a celebration, and a lot of the celebrations are trying to bring back those ceremonies. Whenever we would gather for a celebration or for a ceremony, they always had the grass dancer go in first, and then they would do a ceremony and they would sing special songs for them grass dancers, and them grass dancers then would move around where the ceremony was going to take place or the celebration was going to take place, and they would flatten that grass out, and then you pay attention to them grass dancers. They move, and you watch the grass in the fields as it blows across the prairie, and look at them grass dancers. They kind of move like that with that the wind, how the wind moves that grass. They do the same with them grass dancers, but them grass dancers will flatten out the area. And then we have the jingle dress. Again, the jingle dress for the women is a medicine dance, and it was brought to us long ago in the manner of to help with healing. And so, there too, when somebody's sickly or having a hard time in with their health, then they'll call upon the jingle dress dancers, and they're trying to bring back that ceremonial aspect a little bit. And they'll ask them to dance, and then they dance a certain way, and then they pray, And so you go to these dances like this, to these celebrations, and hopefully you have an announcer, an eapaha, that will explain to the people, these different styles of dance, and give an education that is necessary for the people to feel good and to learn about the native peoples. There's a lot of different nationalities of natives out there. We have the Nakota people, the Lakota people, the Nakota people. We have the Umaha, the Winnebago or Ho-Chungadah. We have Anishinaabe. We have the three affiliated, Dene, Arapaho, and just different natives from around the country. And each one has a unique style of how they express themselves and share their style of dance. And so just to be able to watch and see the beauty, they say a great, one of the late great Eapaha's announcers at the Powwow Circle, his name was Henry Greencrow. He said himself, "This is the most beautiful people on the face of the earth, because of all the colors and the beautiful regalia that all the dancers wear. It is truly a beautiful sight to see." How we would move to get people back into that powwow circle is to share, as much as we can, that we have a celebration here, that the advertisement, I guess, we want to invite all peoples to come and participate, to watch and to learn. In the old days, a lot of our Indian peoples lived on the reservation. And in today's times, a lot of people are moving away, and it's difficult, to share traditions from the elders, from grandma and from grandpa, from aunties and uncles and from mom and dad. the society that we live in makes it real difficult to see and understand who we are and where we come from. You know, and the identity of our people is diminishing, and so it's important that we have a way to archive and share our dances, our songs, our traditions, you know, our culture within that powwow circle. And so, you know, we need to advertise more, you know, about these things and allow the people to see and hear. You know, maybe in the rural areas, you know, maybe we should look at having a radio station that shares more so of our music, you know, native music, and you know, I know that technology is out there, and you know, you could look up on YouTube and look at the different styles of dancing and things like that, but there's not a push for the advertisement to get people curious, you know, get our own people curious about this way of life, you know, and technology is a little bit to blame for us losing our traditions, our culture. You know, everybody sits on their phones or on their iPads or on their laptops or their computers, or they're on the TV, you know, and there's not so much that promotes our traditions, our culture. And if we could look at avenues as native peoples to promote that more, you know, just have small commercials, have, you know, to get the mind interested again with the younger peoples, the rural peoples that have left the reservation, to see and be proud of who they are and where they come from. And that will, I believe, create interest again back in that powwow circle, and allow, you know, for our peoples, our tribes to have wonderful celebrations, beautiful celebrations, happy celebrations, celebrations of good health, and make us feel good again, and to be able to share, you know, with our culture, with our younger generations, and to grow like that. I truly believe that we need to promote it more so than you know, us having to look it up ourselves. How the COVID pandemic has impacted Native communities and Native celebrations, you know, has made a lot of our people a little bit afraid. You know, they don't want to go back into the public, and you know, they're afraid of getting sick, and you know, even this pandemic has taken lives, and so we become afraid of something that we don't understand. But through our traditions, our culture, you know, we do have the things that are necessary to help us to survive, the things that will help us to be protected from this pandemic, you know, and to be able to grow, you know, within the Native communities. You know, I think that this pandemic has, my opinion, has helped myself and my family to become close again, and we depend on our traditions, our culture to survive. You know, I myself have, you know, gotten the COVID twice, you know, but I went to our ceremonies and received doctoring, and you know, made it through pretty good through you know, the two times that I got COVID. But you know, we need to have the faith and the belief that the Creator will look out for us and take care of us. And even in that powwow circle, you know, that powwow circle will help us to heal And so for us to gather again is important, and that circle keeps us healthy. I truly believe that, because since the pandemic hit, I've kind of gotten a little bit sick, not with the COVID, but, I developed a disease that you might call diabetes, and it's because I became less active. And when I was in the powwow, on the powwow trails, I was going to powwows every single weekend, starting from probably March all the way through October, and then after that it's kind of gets cold, so not too many celebrations, but I would try to go to as many as I could through the winter months. And so that dancing, that powwow circle, kept us healthy. And so we need to get back to that and remember that the creator created these celebrations for us to feel good, be healthy, be happy, and to live, and to see old relatives, meet new relatives, and to grow as individuals, to be a good relative to one another. And so I'm kind of thankful that more powwows are coming about, and yeah, there's some powwows that are still on hold for now, but I'm happy and waiting for them to come back, and so that we can celebrate together and feel good and be healthy, mentally, spiritually, physically, and emotionally as a Native people.
Okay, well, thank you so much to Rebecca Tamayo and Galen Drapo, who presented these videos and shared so much of their lives with us. I would like to start by thanking again Teresa Foley for the Star Quilt promo, but I failed to share that Alex Lovren, Metro's workforce training coordinator, was also in that video. So thank you to both of them. Teresa is the International Intercultural Education Assistant here at the college, and they are both powwow committee members, and we thank them for giving their time. And you'll see them throughout the week in distinct videos. Reminder, complete your online evaluation, and I'll be sending you a link through the chat so that you can become involved in a drawing, a free drawing to win the Star Quilt. At this time, we're delighted. I believe Rebecca Tamayo is still with us. She has come in. Rebecca mentioned many things about herself in her video. Her primary professional responsibility, I think, would be Chief Quality Officer, Ponca Tribe of Nebraska. And it's a really, really busy role. So we're so thankful that she could give us some time. She may need to leave early. So her dedicated and dear twin sister, Nicole Benegas, is joining us also, so that if Rebecca has to duck out because of work responsibilities, Nicole can answer some questions too. So Nicole introduced herself in that video, so we don't need to go through that again. I'm sorry, Rebecca introduced herself in the video. But Rebecca, I'm going to start with a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and we can see you now. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
So you described your involvement from a very young age at the Fort Omaha Intertribal Powwow and other powwows and traditional ceremonies. How has being involved in traditional ways prepared you for the other roles that you live in your life? Because you're a busy mom, volunteer, professional. Think about what you learned in the arena and around powwow people that has helped you to be so successful.
Oh, I think the idea of just a respect for all people and ensuring that your interactions with others are one that's done in a good way, that trying to maintain those positive relationships. I think that's, within the circle, it's about promoting, that circle of life, that positive relationships with others, with our four-legged, relatives, our elders, our relatives from all over. And so just really carrying yourself in a good way and supporting and being of support where you can, and just trying to do your best when when you see something or someone who's in need of something, to offer support where you can, learn. So I think just a lot of those virtues are really important when you speak about in the way that we carry ourselves and having respect for others. So I think it naturally just comes together when you want to make a positive impact within your community. So I think that's been very, very impactful in the way that I try to be of support within my community. And so
Thank you so much. I think people will sense your genuine nature and really know that you have accomplished that to a great extent. I did want to say to the audience, there was a lot of talk this morning, and what I would like to share is that we've given our head dancers a chance to help you learn about what a powwow is and what it means to be in the role of a head dancer. For those of you who want to see some dancing, make sure you're with us Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. for the Woodland Native American Dance Company. This is a really exciting program, and it is one because of the rules that some artists have. We can only show it once, so you're not going to be able to come back and watch that one. You need to be with us at 6:30. So, Rebecca, how does an individual get chosen to become a head dancer?
I think it's I did not nominate myself, that's for sure. But I think it's, being recognized by others, even without knowledge of that, of being nominated. And so I just want to extend my gratitude to those that put that nomination in. And I think it's really based on actions or the way that you carry yourself, and someone takes notice of that. And again, it's an honor and a privilege. I'm humbled by the thought that someone would nominate me for this role. So
All right. So people keep their eyes on you when you're out there dancing and how you carry yourself in the community. And then in our case, at the Fort Omaha Intertribal Powwow, I can only speak for us, but it comes down to a committee meeting, and members sit around the table and they say, I'd like to nominate such and such person. And the person who nominates is given the opportunity to share the reasons why, right? Because not everybody around that table maybe knew Rebecca, right? So there were, and then there's a vote. And that's how, and then we go out to the individual and say, would you accept the nomination? So Rebecca had the opportunity to say no, but we really thank her with all the responsibilities that she has, that she's taken this on. And I think that when Galen was speaking, he gave you a sense of the major responsibility that it can be to be a head dancer. He spoke to talking things over with his family because he knew it was a family, it would impact his family. So he needed to make sure that they were comfortable with it. And I'm going to ask you some questions for
Barb, can I add a little bit to that?
Oh, sure. Go ahead. And this is Nicole.
I think so with the committee for Metro specifically is that there are a couple family members. So that's always important to recognize, is that the family members or those that are really close to somebody, if they're nominated, kind of excuse themselves from the process of voting. But I think it goes back to the same idea of just being very humble people. You don't put yourself out there really for those positions. It is the community that recognizes you. And then it's just the overall accomplishments between the way you carry yourself professionally in the community, that you're a good role model for others, and having a really good understanding of that arena and that circle that you're to be kind of heading for that day. So it's somebody that you would want others to look at and try to kind of reach those same successes that you see in that person. And then like you were saying with that commitment for the family, is that it's a really high honor for the family as a whole and not just that individual. And so really making sure that you're preparing and following protocols to carry out those duties as a family to make sure that person can do their best in that position.
Thank you. Sometimes it's easier to answer that question when you're not the selected person, right? Because you don't want to brag about yourself. I will say too that I know people we have offered the position previously sometimes will consider their physical condition, because I've had people say that's a real honor, but I can't take it on because I can't dance every dance. I used to be able to do that, but that's too much for me. So for those of us who are watching from the sidelines and we think that, oh, that's beautiful, that's pretty, that's wonderful, this is a physical effort like any other activity where you really have to give your all. I would like to throw that in. So Rebecca, I'm going to ask you some questions that a powwow, somebody who's not familiar with powwows might be asking. When you gave your presentation to us that was recorded, you laughed a little bit about, I can do fancy, but not so much anymore. Can you explain to us why somebody would stop dancing fancy dance?
Probably not because they want to, but maybe because of, again, the physical endurance it takes. It does take a lot of it's a bit taxing if you're maybe not in as good a shape of you as you may have been, say in your early 20s. So, but I do want to recognize that there are a lot of fancy dancer women and male fancy dancers that continue on well beyond those years and beyond my age. But personally, it does take a lot of physical effort there. And so from time to time, I really enjoy that style of dance. It mimics a butterfly and it's really pretty, graceful dance, but also the songs tend to be, can be real fast. And so again, there goes the physical endurance to that. But so yeah, that's more so that's something I would do that really if again, being out in the circle, you sometimes can do more than you think you can do. Just so you get like this energy in you. For me personally, I can speak to that, and it's like, oh, I really want to, dance fancy for a few songs or something. And so that's really, really great, but
Thank you.
It is more taxing. Thank you.
So, and if I ask you a question that it's not appropriate or you don't feel comfortable answering, it's okay to say, but Galen, because this was Galen's comment, he mentioned that he was a whistle carrier for his tribe and for the powwow circle. And I wondered if our audience knows what that means. So can you tell us what it means to be a whistle carrier?
Well, that's an honor, and I can't speak to his specific situation, how that came about, because that's something that you're honored with, that and so it's not the same process for each person or each, and I can't speak to each tribe, but it is an honor to be to be able to carry that whistle. And so can't speak too much to the details, but it is definitely a high honor.
Thank you. And do I understand that it would always be a male? Is that correct?
That for the tribes that I'm familiar with, yes, but that's
Okay.
been that's my knowledge. Again, I don't want to speak for all nations, but yes.
And it would be a responsibility that's carried on for several years, typically?
Yes, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay. All right. Galen used the term intertribal many times. Like he said in the contest powwows, you don't have intertribals. For somebody who doesn't know what that is, what is an intertribal and how would you recognize it if you go to a powwow?
Yeah, for the more traditional powwow, wachipi, or celebrations, those are more intertribal basis, non-contest powwows. And so it's a mix of when an intertribal song comes out, then when it's an intertribal song, then all people of all dance styles, whether in regalia or non-regalia, are able to dance in a circle. But then when you go more to a contest powwow, less traditional, where there may be more exhibition or contest-based songs, those are real specific to each dance style and per category by age. So that's more of an exhibition or contest in which there are judges selected to determine winners. Typically it's a scoring system and those judges have most likely have grown up in the circle or themselves have been dancers in the past and have real good experience with dancing and can look for specific do's and don'ts on different songs because of the song. Some songs are very specific and each song determines a specific style of a dance. Even for, say there's a jingle dress song, well, there may be a sidestep song, or for fancy, there may be a double beat song that comes out. And so depending on each dancer's familiarity with those songs and their knowledge base and their practice style, it can vary per song within their category. So it gets to be really interesting to determine whether or not those judges are looking for those new that knowledge and that style and familiarity with those songs, because again, our drummers and the songs are so important to us in learning them, and the different styles that come about with that is something that in contests they do look for. So you're scored on that. And versus intertribal, there's no one watching at you and scoring you. It's traditional. You're out there, and it's not for the purpose of a contest.
And intertribal, so the person who's speaking at the powwows called the MC, and if the MC says intertribal, and is that a time when a non-native person in a t-shirt and jeans or whatever may enter the arena?
Yes, they may do so. We do encourage, some tribes, depending upon the song and the tribe, we may want to, someone may give you a shawl to use, or you could use a ribbon skirt for our female dancers, but most definitely during an intertribal, it's encouraged that all people, from regardless whether you're in regalia or non-regalia, to participate in that song. So yep, it's welcoming to all. Again, for those contest songs, it's exhibition, it's style based, and so that it's non-traditional, it's a contest. So that's how those differ.
Thank you. So obviously you have gained a lot of knowledge since you first stepped into the arena. How would you say is that process? How does a child who walks into the arena become somebody who's selected as head lady dancer down the road, right? How did you learn? Did you ask questions?
I think, again, as I shared in my video, that I was fortunate to be brought up by my grandmother and my father, my grandparents, and my father. And they were really encouraging for us to go out into the circle at an early age. They introduced us to that circle at an early age, and we went through ceremony at our home and back in Milk's camp. And that is a very traditional powwow in the community, very based around ceremonies and doings, and a lot of elders with a lot of knowledge, and just listening and watching and learning over the years of those protocols and those doings. And so I think we're really fortunate to be brought up in the circle there, especially in our community, and learn from our elders there. So but yes, definitely ask questions, but in an appropriate way. There's a good way to go about asking questions, and the appropriate people to speak to. And so I think we look to our family in our family's strength and knowledge, and then kind of select the representative if we need to get some additional clarification or to seek out. And so I want to recognize my dad, because he's been really a strong presence as a teacher in our family, at least someone that I can feel comfortable out going to and saying, hey, I saw that. Why is that different? Or what does that symbolize? Because there's a lot of symbolism and different things. And so posing questions to him, I feel really comfortable in doing that. And he really encouraged us to do that. Hey, ask questions, or I think that's natural. So part of it has been, I think, being brought up around the people within our family, and those relatives, and listening and learning.
Thank you. I'd like to remind the audience that when this powwow is back in person at the Fort Omaha campus, one of the things that distinguishes us from many powwows is the fact that we have study circles, and they were created for a couple reasons, but one was to help those people that had a lot of questions but didn't know who to ask, since we have quite a diverse group of folks who come to the powwow. So in the study circle, it gives you an opportunity to sit in a small area typically and ask questions directly of a Native expert on many different topics, right? But there's the point where Rebecca had this family that she could ask questions of. And I think sometimes people who come to a powwow for the first time want to know more, but they don't know. And it's good to be quiet and just listen and watch for some time until you make friends. But we try to help those people who come who want a little bit quicker answers by setting up those study circles.
Barb, can
Yes,
I add a couple things?
yeah.
I think with that too is that, like you mentioned, luckily we were able to come from a family that has gathered that knowledge along the way, and being able to answer questions for us. And Rebecca mentioned that, reaching out. So we do have elders from our community, from our tribe specific, that we reach out to for our own educational purposes, and having a wherewithal of the reasonings behind why. I think just mentioning though that as a society, kind of whole society at large, is that a lot of times they don't ask questions. They don't encourage you. We always talk about how little kids, when they're young, they'll say, why this, why this? And a lot of times you'll hear parents like hushing them and, telling them to be quiet, that they don't want to, give them all those answers. But that's how we naturally will learn. That's how we learned traditionally. We asked questions and had people to answer those for us. Except when you look at the urban settings, especially, but even just the generations that we're working with, you have a lot of community members who are displaced or not exactly sure they were taken from families, and so they don't have that family connection to their original roots and ancestors. And so even especially like around the Omaha area, is finding those community members that are kind of doing that work to revitalize those cultural practices and understandings of what is the why, what is the purpose behind this, what is the meaning behind this. And so making sure that a lot of them you will see that have just came back to finding their roots. Any type of cultural connection is important, so it may not be tribal specific, but it does give them that ancestral strength behind them. It's giving them some type of understanding, and there is a lot of commonalities across the board that can be related. So sometimes it is hard in their Omaha area when you have so many different tribal representations, but trying to find connections. And I know there was a mention earlier about internet and all of that. It can be kind of double-edged sword there, is that's given us another tool to reach out to different tribes and try to learn from them so that we can serve the community members that we have that identify as those tribal nations as well. So it can take away, but it can also, bring back some of that connection and understanding when you utilize those tools. Thanks.
Thank you. Based on what you said and having memories of Native children who stood outside the arena and wished that they had regalia, can you tell us anything about what local programs are doing to help people who don't have that strong family structure? And that could be for Rebecca or Nicole or both of you.
Well, I'll kick it off, but I'm sure my sister will add to this one. So we do have Bluebird Cultural Initiative, which is a local nonprofit focused on cultural revitalization. My dad is the cultural knowledge bearer who does, but again, taking the knowledge that he has experienced and knowledge that he's learned over the past decades, and really, again, reaching out when he's unsure or just supporting people within their, specific to their tribe specific. And so he does a lot of work and workshops, especially focused around for headquartered tribes within the state of South Dakota, but works within OPS also, Omaha Public School District, with their NICE program. And Bluebird itself offers workshops with youth and youth groups as well. And so there are opportunities there for regalia making also. But again, the goal there is that the family themselves have access to materials, access to, and then also the knowledge and the education around kind of just the history around the style of the regalia, learning different styles of, learning the history of the dance styles, but also history of regalia, the symbolism that goes with that. And so Bluebird Cultural Initiative is one, but also working with OPS and NICE. I think they're really encouraging through the Native Indigenous Children Education Program through Omaha Public Schools. There is also a program within Lincoln Public School District that focuses on that early years for our children. Again, we talk about how our children have an open mind, and before they're really open-minded in those early development years. And that kind of goes into where I'm at right now. I'm representing the Ponca tribe of Nebraska at a tribal home visiting program conference and a kickoff of a grant. And so in the near future, within the next 18 months or so, the Ponca tribe of Nebraska will also launch a program focused on early childhood development from years 0 to age 5. And that will focus on introducing cultural knowledge into the families and supporting. And so they may partner with other organizations such as, someone's similar to Bluebird, or also within Ponca specific cultural education. So there's different opportunities for us to revitalize culture within those early years, especially and support families in those efforts. There's a lot of, you do see that. You see youth around the circle that really eager, really excited to dance, but maybe don't have the regalia for the dance style. And so it's always neat to see when families focus on sometimes there are giveaways where families give away those dresses, and that may be their first, that little, that child's first dress. And then you see them the next year and they maybe have now moccasins. And then, the following year, they're going to add to that. And so you continue to see. So it's really interesting and great to see, it's great to see then how that trickle effect and within the family and within the circle. So, yep, I don't know if my sister has more to add to that, but I think there are a lot of efforts within, our local area within Nebraska that are focusing on revitalizing culture and providing opportunities for families to access those resources and those supplies and again, knowledge around how to go about regalia making and the symbolism and the history behind those things. So
yeah, I think the only thing I would add is that there's a group called NACPOMA that is a coalition of organizations in the Omaha metro area who are focused on the Native population. Either majority are Native specific, but we also invite others to join that are serving the Native population or wanting to increase their services to target the Native population and have kind of best practices. But in that falls the cultural revitalization, education, resources. But between that, just organizations and community members really stepping up and assisting families with getting involved culturally, with helping them. A lot of people will reach out to Bluebird to say, oh, somebody said that they're looking for help making a dress, or can somebody help teach them? I think one of the biggest things is not only there are people who make dresses and sell them or outfits and sell them, but also giving the families the tools to learn how to make them so that they're able to carry on that knowledge and making sure that it's something that's sustainable for their families. I think for our family specific, our father and grandmother were purchasing our stuff when me and Rebecca were little. And then the more kids that came along, they realized, okay, this is going to be way too expensive to be able to maintain that and keeping everybody in the circle. And so learning how to do that themselves, doing that ourselves. Steve learned how to make them, sat down with elders, understood the process and the reasoning behind it, and symbology as he's gone along. And so bringing back all of those pieces to the regalia as well is really important. But then just through honka ceremonies, like how we call them, but adoption ceremonies, I've got 30 or 40 little nieces around the area who are not maybe direct blood related, but they, I'm their auntie and I try to help them with what we can, or, we're all kind of just collaborating, coming together to try to make sure that we're able to bring back these practices.
We're getting close to the end here, but I don't want to miss the opportunity to help people know who are going to powwows how precious your outfits are, and how do we as audience members honor that. And if you could give us an idea of how much money do people invest in like the most stellar outfit that you might see in the arena.
That reminds me of something. So time, I think it's a lot of time. And time is one of our most precious gifts. And so it may be something that you're gifted or you work on with your relative. And so it becomes then priceless almost to you because it's something that was gifted to you, or maybe something that you worked on with this individual and you
want to protect that, just because, again, our time and that those memories in that regalia making, because it becomes intimate at some point. You know, for some people, I don't want to speak for all people, of course, but there's a level of, this is the design for my family, or maybe this is a different something of personal design, and this is the meaning behind it for me. And so again, speaking to that symbology, the symbolism behind some of the designs, and that it's, you know, it's one of a kind, our regalia. And so again, or it may have been gifted to you from someone during a ceremony for so there's a lot to it, or it could have been passed down from someone else that has maybe made their travels. So it's I don't want to put a dollar amount on it, but maybe my sister can get some. As far as materials, maybe my sister, I'll look to her for that as far as materials. But for me personally, especially our plumes and our feathers, those are all things that we hold sacred to us. And so not going up and touching someone's feathers, let's stay away from that, because those are often through ceremony again, and held sacred to us. So Nikki, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah,
Those are
I
my
would
initial
agree.
thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree. The one part too is that unless you have access or have been gifted like eagle feathers and things, so you could be restricted to what dance styles you would want to dance if you don't have access to those things. So most of the feathers, if you're looking at eagle feathers, you have restrictions of being enrolled members of a federally recognized tribe. Those you have to go through the federal government to be able to apply for it, and you have to be over 18. So any young people that you see that are under 18, they've been gifted those feathers, whether from older family members or for accomplishments that they are recognizing, like maybe from their community has gifted them with those. But if you want to put a dollar amount on it, because people do make regalia to sell, and so you're looking upwards of a couple $1,000s minimum. And that's just, you look at beadwork is at least a couple $1,000s for beaded mocks and leggings. And then you're looking at all of the adornment pieces and earrings. And then once again, having those feathers as part of it. But then the time that's put into there, and now we have all the shipping costs that are completely outrageous. And so, it takes a lot to do, because even if you're looking at maybe like a little 4 or 5 tea dress for a little child, is looking at a couple $100s for just the main dress piece. And so it definitely can get really expensive. And if you have more than 1 or 2, I've got 5 children, so definitely don't have the means to provide all of them by buying everything. And you know how quick these children grow. So a lot of times it's we take really good care of it. It's part of the dancing and being in the circle is knowing the protocols for how you should be carrying yourself while you're in your regalia, not to be running around. We have a very strict upbringing with our grandparents and our family of that. When you're there at gatherings, you're there for the gathering. You're sitting down at the arena. You're participating in the arena. You're not out running around and playing or nothing. And so, because it is very time consuming and expensive to get those things, but also just that's the manner in which you should be conducting yourself when you're there in the public. You represent yourself and your family. I think I did want to add one thing earlier. I know Galen had talked about young people, about the urban setting and bringing back the cultural practices, and that I think here in the area it's really wanted. COVID increased that even more, is that our families feel really disconnected, and that one, Natives really had the highest vaccination rates and testing rates and access to them than a lot of other minority populations, thankfully. But we can see how historically we are still kind of put off on understanding if that is the best practice for us to get to get the vaccines or not. And it's just the history that you've seen behind that. But a lot with the urban, I can speak to the urban setting around here, the Native youth that we've worked with, is that that kind of depression, that mental health definitely took a nosedive. Those that had the cultural practices and ceremonies prior to COVID, they really were impacted because that was their way of coping and really feeling connected and kind of their spirituality and keeping them in balance. And so being disconnected for a couple of years, that really a lot of our young people and our family members have struggled with that. But especially when you talk about funeral services and those things and not being able to practice traditionally how we would do those. So I just wanted to add that in there. I had heard him speaking on that a little bit earlier, but you really see a bigger interest and you see it more of a focus and I think more of acceptability community at large to say that yes, these cultural ways and practices and way of living is a good way to keep our people healthy and balanced and that it's necessary for them. So that's all I want to add.
Thank you so very much, both of you, Rebecca and Nicole. Nicole, who jumped in the last minute in my frenzy, knowing how busy Rebecca is. So I want to thank you. Do you have any final comments for our audience, either of you?
I like to thank everyone for their for your time today, for joining this call. I'd like to thank Metro Community College. I encourage anyone who's interested in learning more to reach out to maybe any of the organizations discussed on this morning's call. I'm available. My sister is available. She's a great person to reach out to in the community and ask questions, or if we have if we can be of any support, please let us know. I don't know if we can include an email or something within this call. That would be great, Barb.
I will send that. How about with the evaluation notice? How to get a hold of
okay.
both? Would you like both of your emails sent out or just Nicole's?
I'm volunteering.
I was gonna say, I think you can send it to me, and if you have something specific for Rebecca, I definitely will let her know and bring her into the conversation.
All right,
yeah,
that sounds good.
We have daily conversations like 6 times. That's what happens when you're twins. So we're like thinking the same thing over here. So okay.
All right.
But again, that's all I have. Thank you all. Any other items?
I think I would just reiterate, thank you for, one, being interested, providing your time to learn a little bit or just support. Maybe you kind of know a lot of this, but just supporting and understanding that it's important to support each other in the efforts. And thanks to Metro and Barb for all the hard work. And Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
All right. So thank you so much. Both of you have given us really great information to further consider. It was a super kickoff for the powwow this morning. I'm looking forward to seeing people later, but at this time, thanks also to Isaac for managing the technology. If you put up our online evaluation slide, Isaac, please. There we go. It's in the chat. We want you to tell us what you think about the session, and there is an opportunity within that evaluation to list your name and contact if you would like a chance to win that beautiful star quilt, which will be awarded on Friday after the Princess Contest. So we look forward to that. But if you can spare us some more time today, at 2:30 this afternoon, Isaac's going to put up our next program. We will feature star quilts because we want you to know what is a star quilt, some history behind it, significance. And we're really honored that Patty Provost, Ho-Chunk, Wisconsin, Winnebago, who teaches classes every term on star quilts, is going to present. And her dear friend, sister, cousin, Carolyn Fiskus, also known as Big Mama from the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, is with her providing some really powerful discussion about star quilts this afternoon at 2:30. Both of them will join us for Q&A after the session. So we look forward to seeing you, and the link to register is also in the chat. Appreciate you all. Have a good afternoon. We'll see you later at 2:30.